الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. This is our fourth lesson from our lessons of Hanafi Fiqh Made Easy, going through the book of Wahba al-Zuhayli, Sheikh al-Wahba al-Zuhayli rahimahullah رحمة واسعة وغفر الله له ذنبه وأسكنه فسيح جنته. So we stopped in our last lesson on the third section, which was the rulings أحكام البئر وتطهيرها, ruling concerning the well and its purification. So the Sheikh says, he gives an introduction as to the issues that he will deal with in this section. So he says أنواع الآبار وكيفية تطهيرها من النجاسة. So firstly he will talk about the types of wells and how they are purified from impurities. وما لا يفسد الماء, and that which does not spoil the water. وما لا ينجس البئر, and that which does not make the well impure. ووجود حيوان في البئر, and what one does when a animal is found in the well. So these are the issues that he will deal with in this section. So the first issue is the types of wells. وقواعد طهارتها ونجاستها. So he says types of well and the rules concerning the purity and the impurity. So he says al-bir imma saghira wa imma kabira, that a well, and the well in Arabic is feminine. So the well imma saghira is either a small well or a large well. So he says فإذا كانت البئر صغيرة, and if the well is a small well, وهي ما دون عشرة في عشرة. So what is a small well? So he needs to define what is a small well. The small well is that which is less than 10 cubits in 10 cubits. As we said, 5 meters, 5 meters cubed. If it is less than 5 meters cubed, then it is considered to be a small well. So he says, if the well is small, فَوَقَعَتْ نَجَاسَةُ فِيهَا, and then if the well is small and a impurity falls into it, وَلَوْ كَانَتْ قَلِيلًا, even if that impurity is little, كَقَطْرَ الدَّمِ, then explain what he means by little impurity, like a drop of blood or a drop of alcohol, khamr. So here we can see that he's saying that blood and khamr and alcohol are impurities, are impure. So a drop of blood or a drop of khamr is considered to be small impurity, a little impurity. فلا تطهر, then that well, that small well, cannot be purified. What do we do with it? فينزح ماء البئر كله. So we must remove from the well all of its water, because لأن قليل النجاسة ينجس قليل الماء, because little impurity makes little water impure. وإن لم يظهر أثر قليله فيه, even if the effects of that little purity is not apparent in that water. So meaning that nothing happens to that water, no change occurs in that water of color, of taste, of smell, But because it's little water, and we define what little water is, then it is affected by any type of impurity. And he said, حتى وإن لم تتغير أوصافه, which I said, even though its qualities have not changed. وينزح ماء البئر أيضا بوقوع الخنزير. And the well, all of the water of the well is removed if a pig falls into it, even if the pig comes out alive, and even if the pig's mouth doesn't fall into the water or go into the water. لنجاسة عينه, because the pig itself, the pig itself as an ain, as an object, is impure. وينزع ماء البئر, it continues, وينزع ماء البئر بموت كلب فيه. And the water of a well is removed totally if a dog dies in it, because the dog is not an object which is impure in itself, according to the correct opinion. So the pig itself, according to the Hanafis, and according to the majority, is impure. Itself, it's as an object, it is impure, all of it, every part of it. Whereas dog, according to the Hanafi, according to the correct opinion amongst the Hanafis, is that the dog as itself, as an object in itself, as a whole part, is not impure. فإذا لم يمت وخرج حيا ولم يصل فمه الماء لا ينجس. So if the dog comes out alive, or if the water doesn't reach its mouth, then the well does not become impure. So with regards to the pig, the well becomes impure by it falling into it, by it touching, going into the water of the well. As for the dog, then the well only becomes impure if it dies in it, or if its mouth reaches the water. Otherwise, if it comes out alive or its mouth doesn't go into the water, then it doesn't become impure. Then the Sheikh says, وَيُنْزَحُ بِمَوْتِ شَاء أَوْ مَوْتِ آدَمِي فِيهَا. And the well is, the water of the well is removed if a sheep dies in it or a person dies in it, because the water of Zamzam was removed. ما زمزم لنزح ما زمزم بموت زنجي بأمر ابن عباس, because the death of a slave, or say a slave, in it, in the well of Zamzam, and the removal of the water was ordered by Ibn Abbas and Ibn Zubayr radiyallahu anhuma. بمحضر من الصحابة من غير إنكار أحد. And the Sahaba were all there, and they heard the order of the command of Ibn Abbas and Ibn Zubayr, and none of them rejected or reprimanded them with regards to their order. Also, the water is removed due to an animal falling into it, وكذا ينزع بوقوع حيوان فيه وانتفاخه أو تمعطه أو تفسخه ولو كان صغيرا لانتشار النجاسة. So he says that the well is, the water is removed from the well if animal falls into it and it becomes bloated, or it starts to decay, or it spoils. ولو كان صغيرا, even if the animal is small, because due to the spread of the impurity. أما إن كان البئر كبيرة, this was all to do with the small well. Now he says وأما إن كان البئر كبيرة ولم يكن نزحها ولم يمكن نزحها, as for if the well is big and it's not possible to remove the water out of it, فينزح 100 دلو منها استحسانا للفعل السلف بتطهير الآبار بنزحها. So what one does in that case is that he removes 200 buckets from it due to the good action, or the Salaf regarding this as a good thing to do for the purification of the wells by removal of the water. وإن ماتت فيها دجاجة أو حرة أو نحوهما في الجثة ولم تنتفخ مثل الحمامة لازم نسح 40 دلوا. And if the well is big and a chicken or a cat or the likes of them in its bodily size dies in it, and the animal does not bloat, for example, a pigeon, it doesn't bloat, then one needs to remove from it 40 buckets of water. وإن ماتت فيها فأرة أو نحوها كأصفور ولم ينتفخ لازم نسح 20 دلوا. And if a mouse dies in it, or something of its size, like a bird, and it doesn't bloat, then 20 buckets must be removed. This is all to do with the well which is big. وفي الحمامة والدجاجة ونحوهما ينزح من 40 إلى 60 دلو. As for the pigeon or the chicken, then or something of their size, then 40 to 60 buckets should be removed. وفي الآدمي والشاه والكلب جميع الماء. As for a person dying in the well, or a sheep dying in the well, or a dog dying in the well, then all of the water must be removed. حينئذ, at that time, when these things have been done, depending on what falls into it, يطهر البئر, the well becomes pure. والدلو, the bucket, والرشاد, the rope, ويد المستسقي, after doing this is what it says. After doing this, the well is purified, and so is the bucket, and so is the rope, and so is the hand of the one who was pulling out the water. So all these things need to be purified. وإن مات فيها حيوان دموي غير مائي كالشاة والكلب أو آدمي وانتفخ أو تمعط أو تفسخ ينزع كل مائها الذي كان فيها وقت الوقوع بعد إخراجه إلا إذا تعذر. Okay, he says, and if an animal with blood in it, which is not a water animal, like a sheep or a dog or a human, dies in it, and he bloats or he breaks up or he spoils, ينزع كل مائها, all of the water of the well is to be removed, which was present at the time of the animal falling into it, after the animal has been removed, except if it is impossible. So if it is impossible, then the water is removed to the extent that the water was present when the removal of water began. So they remove the water to the extent. So before they began the removal of the water, they look how much water there was, and then they remove from the water. They remove the water, and they remove that much water that was present when they began in the well, when they began the removal. So they look at how much water there was, and they remove that much water. ويعتبر الدلو الوسط, and the bucket that is considered is a medium-sized bucket, and that should be the bucket of that well. So if the bucket is not sufficient for a sa' of water, which is a sa' of water is about 4 liters, roughly, or other than that, 4 liters or more. So if the bucket is not of 4 liters, يحتسب به, then one has to take into account or calculate that level. ويكفي ملء الأكثر الدلو, and what is sufficient is that one fills the majority of the bucket. وأوجب, come on, go down. وأوجب أبو حنيفة غسل الملابس التي أصابها ماء البئر في أثناء تطهير البئر. Abu Hanifa made obligatory the washing of the clothes that the water touches while purifying the well. وعند الصاحبين, as for the two companions, Muhammad al-Shaybani and Abu Yusuf, من وقت العلم بالنجاسة ولا يلزمهم إعادة شيء من الصلوات قبل ذلك. That they should only wash that which they should only wash they only have to wash the clothing from the time that they know that there was a impurity on them, and they don't have to repeat any prayers that they prayed in those clothes before they knew of the impurity. And we're going to stop here and continue, because I don't want to make it too long. So that was about purifying, how to purify the wells. And then the next section is ما لا ينجس البئر, those things which do not make the well impure. And we'll leave that for next lesson. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد والله أعلم.